So we already have the cabochons made, and first will be Premo. I use 1 part silver to 2 parts white pearl. And then on the thinnest setting, I'm getting myself a rectangular piece, and then I will use 2 sizes of circle cutters, 2 for the earring cabochons and 1 for the pendant cabochon. Now watch very carefully how I am cutting those. See, I make a curve cut that is narrower at the highest point of the circle that I have cut, and out of those I will cut with my X-Acto knife like little feathers in a wing if you want. Do not pay too much attention to the prettiness of this cut, because it's going to be refined a lot once you place it on the cabochon. Just be careful and use the side of the sheet where you have a nice uninterrupted mica shift sheen, because probably your machine, like 99% of the machines, will leave some streaks on one side and the other side would be perfectly shiny. Then place some bacon bond or liquid clay on the back and place it on the cabochon exactly like I am placing it. So when you place the first part, that will be a little bit higher, line up the outside with the outside of the cabochon, then bring it over, line up the inside part with the edge of the cabochon, and then bring over the bottom part on the front of the cabochon. This is called a half bezel, pretty much. It's not really a bezel, it's more like some kind of, when it's done in metal, it's some kind of claws setting that holds the a gemstone in place, sorry, when you don't want to cover your piece with a lot of metal. Then use whatever you use as a smoothing small roller. In my case, you know that I'm using my blue paintbrush to smooth out the edges where the cut was. These specific pieces will require a lot of careful detailing if you want to get a nice result that looks very much like sterling silver. And again, I cannot hide you that the result is way better in Pardo than in Premo, just because of the way the clays themselves are. Then using a sculpting tool, I'm using here my rubber tipped conical tool. And remember, everything that I am using in a video, you can find it in my Amazon influencer store. And you can get to that Amazon influencer store by clicking the little A that's on the header image on my channel. And I'm trying to always find the best prices that I can. With the X-Acto knife, once you have done a proper leveling and smoothing, remove any excess and then make 2 thin lines that you can then enhance for a nicer smoothness with your needle tool from the inner corner of those wing-like elements, however you want to call them. And this way it will look like a setting claw of sterling silver. But for this, once again, you need to do a very fine detailing and smoothing and trimming. Then to get the best look of silver, once you baked the whole thing, you need to sand it a little bit and then buff it really good before applying any kind of enhancements. I will be using on the Premo the Extreme Sheen Silver Sterling paint, And on the Pardo, I will be using Gilder's wax paste. When you do this on the earrings, make sure that you do it symmetrically, not identically, because you want your earrings to be symmetrical, not identical. And that is baked, and I have sanded and buffed them, and now I will be applying a little bit of that extreme sheen paint. And no, that one actually you cannot find in my Amazon influencer store. I got it from PolyClay.com, and it's like a cheaper version but as good as the Viva Decor paints. They're only a little bit over $2, but they are way better than any metallic acrylic paints that you might find in the store. Then once I will do that, I will put the pieces back in the oven for 10 minutes, after which I will buff them again. And yes, this is something absolutely awesome about Extreme Sheen, that you can buff it. Once you bake it and it gets set in the clay, you can buff it. I do the same thing for the Pardo. I mixed here in the jewelry line the 2 parts platinum with 1 part silver. And again, it's on the, not really on the thinnest setting on this one, it's on the Atlas number 4. And I do exactly the same. I cut, and you see that even the cut is much better on Pardo. It's more defined because the clay has a completely different consistency than Premo. You will kind of have to, if you decide to start working in Pardo, you'll kind of have to relearn to work certain things, because it behaves differently than Premo or many other clays. And I am placing it the exact same way, lining up the top outer edge and then bringing it over, lining up the inner edge to the edge of the cabochon, and then bringing it over lower over the top of the face of the cabochon. And then again, I am using my blue paintbrush to smooth out and refine all the edges. I'm placing first all of my pieces on all the cabochons, and then I'll finish working on the details. And once again, careful when you place them on the earrings, because you want to place them symmetrically, not identically. That is very, very important. And then once I did that for all 3 cabochons, that's when I start working on smoothing out. And while I'm working, you can actually look at your heart's desire on how pretty the mother of pearl looks in Pardo, and how perfectly realistic it looks. On this one, I'm actually using my sculpting tool to start the lines, because as I said, it behaves differently than Premo, so you kind of need to sculpt it differently. And once again, I am removing any kind of excess clay to refine all those edges. And then using my needle tool to emphasize those lines that separate the so-called feathers of the wing. Yeah, that's the reason why I'm posting this so late. Okay, so as I said, I've baked all of them, and then I have placed on the Pardo some Gilder's wax paste, and then a little bit of min wax on top. And don't forget to buff before applying the metallic enhancer. And I only applied just a pinch on the very top layer. Then I am drilling holes in the top. For the pendant cabochon, I'm going to use some silver plated pinch bales. And I already did that on Premo, so I'm only showing you how to do it on the Pardo set. Because it looks so pretty that I'm going to actually, on the Pardo, I'm going to use silver findings. So open up the pinch bale very carefully, done not abruptly because it can break. And then fix it with those little teeth in the holes you have drilled. Don't try to put it directly. I mean, yeah, it can go in the polymer clay because the polymer clay is relatively soft, but I'd rather not leave that to chance. And then I'm going to drill holes in the earrings as well. And I'm taking some 24 gauge wire, silver wire, and I will first do a wrapped loop to attach the wire to the earring cabochon. And don't make it too tight. You want that cabochon to move a little bit freely. And once you cut the end of the wire, tuck it in very well because you don't want any kind of scratches on or snags on your hair. And then I will place a bead cap, then a fake pearl. I used pale pink pearls on the Premo set and white pearls on the Pardo set. Then another bead cap, and then I will be doing a wrapped loop, and I'm not attaching directly the earring finding because I can just open that up a little bit and then close it back. I'd rather have my wrapped loop very well done. And because it's a 24 gauge wire, I can work with it without issues. And once again, tuck in the end of the wire you made the loop with. And you note how the setting up the Pardo looks exactly like sterling silver, because it buffs so beautifully, and then with just a very faint enhancement of Gilder's wax paste, it looks exactly like it practically looks like metal PVC clay. And there we go. These are both sets. Let's look at them in a close-up. The Premo one looks okay, but it does not have the perfection of Pardo, no matter how precise and neat and proper you're trying to be. Yes, I know I'm biased, but I have reasons to be biased, you know. And now the Pardo set, you can see there's a huge difference in how beautifully perfect it looks. It looks like real mother of pearl in a sterling silver setting. So let's take a look at the sets together with all the pieces together. And you can see all that pearlescent layering in the Pardo. And then I will show you a photo with the sets with the silver chains. So this is the final result, and then all I have to do is to put the silver chains on the pendants. And there you go, this is how they look. Happy claying!